Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our success story live stream, where we will be putting a spotlight on the amazing work that companies are doing to improve the lives of their customers. I am Pauline, I'm the founder of AFDigital, and today I have the amazing privilege of speaking with a CMO whose KPI is not just to measure the clicks or the likes or increase in sales, but to actually save lives by increasing the survival rate from the sudden cardiac arrest around the world. Watch this video.
Thousands of home defibrillators are being rolled out in Australian homes with hopes that one day every household will have one. They weigh less than half a kilogram. They're easy to use if anyone suddenly collapses.
David Whiting is getting back to doing what he loves after suffering from a sudden cardiac arrest.
Something I hadn't experienced before. At some point, I just collapsed.
Every year in Australia, around 25,000 people go into sudden cardiac arrest. 80% of those happen at home, but less than 3% survive.
Sudden cardiac arrest is sudden, instant, surprising. You need something immediate because after 10 minutes, it's virtually impossible to bring you back.
You can now purchase a miniature AED, a key life-saving device, to keep at home.
Having one in the home where the majority of sudden cardiac arrests occur goes a long way to narrowing that survival gap.
Survival for people like David, who was resuscitated by an off-duty lifeguard and an AED.
The number one factor that helped my survival and recovery was early intervention.
Designed with instructions for both adults and children, it costs around $360.
You need to make it affordable to get into the homes. If it's too expensive, it just won't be bought.
It's hoped that by having an AED just like this one in every single home in Australia, within 5 years, tens of thousands of lives could be saved.
It's going to be peace of mind that hopefully you never have to use it, but you have something at hand that is literally can save someone's life.
Nick Hose, 7 News.
We are here to learn on how they are using technology in making it possible for them to fulfill this amazing mission. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Pauline. Great to be with you.
I'm sure everyone is excited to learn more about how rapid response survival rates save lives. But before we get into that, can you please introduce yourself and your company mission?
Sure. So Mark Hillebrand, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Rapid Response Survival. So what that means is I'm responsible for all the marketing across the business, both from a functional point of view with a team that delivers that, but also the influence across the broader team, because everybody within the organisation is responsible for marketing. Everything we do has some impact on our end customers. So that's what I do. I think I've only been with the organisation for a year. We've only been had approval to sell the product for a year. So, but I think everything I did before that with a broad range of organisations, whether that was in the automotive industry, finance, airlines, technology industries, a lot of it which was driven around large-scale consumer programs, but also business-to-business and channel programs, has really helped me, be in the right place for this. So it's been great to have a greenfields, a plain bit of paper that comes with other problems, but a plain bit of paper to be able to do what we really want to do. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more today.
Yeah, and share with us your mission. That video was really amazing in terms of just like explaining how, like the stats that were given. Maybe if you could shed more light into that.
Yeah, I think sudden cardiac arrest is one of those things that will certainly for a lot of people, including myself, until probably just a bit over a year ago, I had no idea what the impact of that was, and just how many people died and how many people could be saved. So, it's been a problem for a long time. It's not something that's just popped up overnight, although we are seeing increased rates of sudden cardiac arrest out there, but maybe that's the reporting. But I think, what's really important is that we know that 80% plus sudden cardiac arrests happen in the home, and there just hasn't been a solution for that. The defibrillators that are out there, we've known for 40 years that you can restart a heart and how important defibrillation is, but that's been in the domain of, the paramedics and the ambulances. And, even in a highly developed society like Australia, where we have, very, very good ambulance times. I mean, they're criticised, but when you consider, an ambulance getting from the hospital or where it is to your house, in 5 to 10 minutes, that type of stuff, even that's too long to put somebody in a place where they can be survived, in most cases. So, as the video said, it's less than 3% of people survive,
3%. Yeah.
and it can happen to anybody. So, it's indiscriminate. There will obviously, the work we do leading forward, we're really hopeful that we'll get more knowledge about what does it, and then we can determine it. But, the stats out there at the moment that it can happen to young and old, indiscriminate happens very quickly. David on the video, but, it's only been a year since Christian Eriksen, the captain of the Danish World Cup soccer team, in the World Cup, collapsed with a sudden cardiac arrest, 32 years of age, peak of fitness. He was very lucky. He was one of the lucky ones, like, David, that, there was paramedics there, defibrillation there. He was in hospital. A week later, was released with a pacemaker. 6 months later, was playing Premier League football. So, we know that if we can intervene and get that, but we can't wait. We need to make sure that a person is in that position. So when the paramedics arrived, and make no mistake, the first most important thing to do is call emergency services, because, unless it's James Bond, where you put a defibrillator on yourself, it just doesn't happen. You're not going to just shake yourself and walk away. You're going to be in an ambulance. You're going to be in the hospital. You're going to have, extensive treatment. But the quicker that defibrillator is put on somebody, then the better chance they are of surviving. So what we needed to do was come up with a product, and there's a whole team of people that does that. But, you saw it on the video, on the news, and the new media has been fantastic for us, in terms of getting that message out. And it doesn't matter whether I'm in a cafe or on a bus, people have, heard about the device. So that's...
Is it easy to use? Yeah. How does it work? Easy to use?
So that's the device. So from a size point of view, but we also have a trainer, and it's really important because it's not just having the device there. It's actually been ready to act, identify, know that there's a sudden, and what to do. First thing, again, always call emergency services, because you need them on the way, and you will need them. But what you can do in the beginning is actually, identify the sudden cardiac arrest and start acting. So once it comes out of its box, this is the trainer, and we really want people to practice and be ready, so that when it happens, and, don't underestimate it when it's happening to you, your husband, your wife, your mum, your dad, your kids, whoever it could be in the family of visitor, it's a stressful situation, because it's somebody, you know and love.
Overwhelming,
But
right?
essentially, this is the device. The only button you really need to know about is whether it's an infant or an adult. So once you do it, you take it out of the package, you snap it, that turns it on, you peel the adhesive off the back, exposes the pads, put it onto the chest. It's fully automated, so it will determine... That's it. It will determine whether a shock is needed. It will not give a shock unless there's a detectable rhythm. It'll take you through the voice prompts, as traditional AEDs do. But it's so simple and easy to use, and that's what we really needed. So to really make the change, we've got to get into households. We talk at the office, every house, every car, every handbag, so that it's there, so that they're literally minutes away. Because at the moment, and we've done a good job in society of getting them in recent years into supermarkets, into petrol stations. But, you do a quick Google search, it'll be 5 to 10 minutes away, even if it's next door or 2 doors up, but you're not going to leave the person that, your husband, your wife, your kid there, and go next door. So the bottom line is you've got to wait for emergency services, unless there's somebody else you can send off. But even then, every minute counts, because what we know is that, after 10 minutes, as Donovan said on that video, there's very little chance of reviving you. So, and it's, the first minute or two is absolutely critical.
Thank you for showing us how easy that looks. Like, it's easy to use. But what's the youngest, like for kids? Like, what's the youngest that can use that?
Well, I'm sure there'll be, tiny kids doing it, but our usability studies has shown that it's very easy for a 7-year-old to use.
7-year-old. Wow.
And, but there should be no reason younger than that. So, we obviously, that there will become that day, and that will be a significant day where a child's been able to revive their parent.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
love
the sort
this.
of thing we need a tool. It needs to be, very, very easy to use, and particularly in a stressful situation, and very cost effective. I mean, that's the other problem is that, with defibrillators being, a couple of $1,000, in a household, it's just something when, you're battling to feed the kids, pay the bills, it needs to be low cost. And the other really important thing about the device that we're at is that you don't want it just stuck in a drawer somewhere. We have developed a wall mount clamp, so it literally sits on the wall mount in the house, so it's very, very visible.
Yeah, easy
So
to find. Yeah, so you mentioned that the product's only been out in the market for a year, but the video said that you've got thousands and thousands of products out there already that's been distributed and bought. As a CMO, can you walk us through, first of all, the strategy in order for you to think about the fastest way you can get this into the homes of people to start saving lives? If you can walk me through your process, what did you do, and what solution you chose?
yeah, so the organisation's been about 5 or 6 years in R&D and development, and one of the things with medical devices is you cannot go out and market until you actually have approval. So we got TGA approval late last year, and with that, we therefore were able to go to market. So what we did was we went out for pre-sale because we've actually only just started manufacturing in Sydney. And we will manufacture overseas to meet global demand. But what we did was pre-orders, and the world's getting pretty used to that. We're in, it doesn't matter whether you're buying a Tesla or a washing machine now. That the pre-order, we obviously want to get them out quicker, and our intention is to be producing, one a second is our internal saying on that. But we basically built a supply chain and demand for the product. So now we're actually going out and fulfilling those orders of people who place their orders first. And they're literally coming off the production line in Sydney as we speak. So that's a really, really exciting time. In fact, that news pitch that when we pitched to the media was very much about, because we did last year talk about the problem of sudden cardiac arrest, but this time we said we're manufacturing, and because I think that's a really significant milestone that a medical device is being, not just invented in Australia. We've always been good at inventing things and developing things, but actually manufacturing in Sydney, in Riverwood in Sydney. But I
Amazing.
think what's really important is that the underlying story of what we're doing, irrespective of where it's made and what it does, is that that it will save lives. We know for every 1,000 that are out there, that'll be a life that'll be saved. But we need to get these devices out to mass scale. So what we're doing is, from a sales point of view, we sell direct. We also sell through channel partners, and that's sort of different sort of partners that are what we call value-added resellers. So they're the people that are, doing first aid training courses. Up till now,
Yeah.
you go into a first aid training course, and the chances of you walking away and buying a $2,000 defibrillator is pretty slim. But now the device is, $360. We expect that there is a high chance. So we work for them, but they don't need to take stock. They pass an order through to us. We have direct relationship with the customer, so that we can fulfill quickly. The other important thing is that in a business sense, there is a rigorous process typically of checking use by dates and expiry dates and replacing the pads and replacing the batteries. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. People say, well, why don't you have rechargeable batteries and things like that? Well, the last thing you want in a house is, the battery's gone flat or the pads have dried out. So we've come up with a product called Cell Aid for Life, which we call our Netflix model. And that is that from a consumer point of view, you don't need to worry. You're on a membership or a subscription. The device has a SIM card in it. We monitor the storage temperature and the battery, because storage temperature will impact the pad life and also impact the battery. So we'll give alerts if you've happened to sit on top of the hot water system or things like that, because that's not good for it. We want to basically make sure that it's actually ready, so that it's it is absolutely ready for someone when they want it. So you don't need to think about it. It's not like probably your first aid kits, and we've all got first aid kits in our drawers at home that are well past their use by date. We cannot afford that to happen. This is a device when that event happens, and we all hope and pray that never happens to us, but when it does,
Yeah.
it needs to
So
work.
it's really Yeah, it's really important that you have that one-to-one connection with your customer, because that's why you've got that Netflix model. It's not just one thing that
Mm.
they buy and then you just leave them on their own. So I can
Yeah.
imagine that
So
that
just
allows the online is important. The online component as a channel is important for you. Can you walk us through like how you set that all up? Because like you were really like Greenfield, you started from the very beginning, right? So
yeah. So we needed to know every customer individually so that we can we know when the products are going to expire if they're in the membership model, and it's not compulsory. For some people, it might not be what they want, but for most people, they don't want the hassle. So 16.50 Australian a month, we will send you out a new one. So we monitor it. We'll send you a new one before the replacement. You send the old one back to us. We manage all the recycling and the work of that. If you use it, we're basically saying to people, don't hesitate, to use it, and we will, if you use it, obviously if someone mucking around with it and playing whatever, and then wasting it, then we're going to obviously have clauses that stop that happen, but most people won't do that. So if you use it, we'll replace it, no questions asked.
that's
And
amazing.
so we need to have that direct relationship with customers. That will also give us, obviously, we know we can manufacture to that from a replacement point of view. So we needed to know who the customers were. The other really
Yeah.
important thing is it's not just the product. Every product has a service aspect around it. So it's actually about being confident to act, we call it. So it's little tips and tricks and things like that, what to do, and to build it up over a long time. So it is peace of mind. So, what to do if a person's got a pacemaker, what to do in this situation, what to do if it's an infant, those things. So it just becomes part of that logical thinking, because you're not, at the time this happens, you're not going to open up the instruction manual and read through the details, which is why I also have the trainer. So, you can take the challenge, check it out, and make sure it's there.
Yeah.
So
So when
in
you're
terms of
building,
doing, sorry.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So
Go
in
ahead.
terms of doing that, we needed to have a really good CRM system, marketing automation system, end to end, to be able to know. So we went through a process of looking at all the different areas, and we actually selected Salesforce.
Mhm.
And through Salesforce, we obviously were introduced to AFDigital to deliver that project. So I guess what AFDigital did for us in terms of bringing the table, we had a very short period of time when we got TGA approval to go live, to build this platform and to build a minimum viable product. So literally in maybe 6 to 8 weeks, we were actually able to build the essence of the platform, to take pre-orders, to provide that information in an e-commerce environment. And then we've, through stages of that, moved into different areas, including since then, and we're only talking December last year, we also then have the UK and Europe set up, all still in English at this stage, but we do actually have a plan from a global point of view to make sure that CellAid is a product that doesn't matter what language you speak. So if I'm, in China and I'm speaking Mandarin, I should be able to get off a plane in New York and be at a friend's house or be somewhere, see that device, and know exactly how that device works and use it without without any stress. So hence, global branding, global communication, and standards that we're putting in place to make sure it's there. So
I
we
would
needed
really
to,
hope so. I hope your next market would be the US, because my family lives in LA and I'm like, I need to have this in their home right
yeah,
now.
yeah. The US is a huge market, and each market that we move into. So we have CE approval, so that allows us to sell into 70 European related type countries. TGA, we have Taiwan TGA, but each market, because this is such a regulated product as a medical device, we need to get approval. So we are working with the FDA for the US, as we are in other countries. So
Yep,
we will. It is our intention to have it available in every country, in every corner of
that's
the earth.
great
So,
news. That's
and
really great.
in time, we will hope that there's at least one in every house, one in every handbag.
Well, we'll definitely help you achieve that goal, Mark. But out of curiosity, and for the benefit of those who are in the same industry or the same journey as you are, what made you choose Salesforce? We know Salesforce is the number one CRM, but you guys are at the very beginning of your journey. No sales yet, right? When you guys started, no business case or success story to draw from or reports that, this is the best platform. How did you get it across the line as far as, like the investment?
Yeah. So look, it probably wasn't the first choice across our company. We have a very strong relationship with Microsoft, and Microsoft have been very supportive of our business in a number of other areas. So, their product was certainly, potentially on the inside running in many ways. But what we went through a process, and it's Salesforce in terms of particularly sales and marketing automation. What we also found was that Salesforce, led from the front. So they brought the partners with it. So, it was, whereas Microsoft do have a slightly different model where it's partner led. And so therefore a key part of that decision was the relationship with yourselves, with AFDigital and your team, and also Store Connect, which is a Salesforce application that we use for our e-commerce platform that could be scaled. Again, another brilliant Australian product. So what we found that really was the differentiator was key account management at Salesforce that really helped us to bring in the key product managers so that we understood it. But importantly, the partners such as AFDigital were not just pitching a generic idea to us or things we've done. I mean, you certainly showed us what you've done for other organizations, but it was actually that ability to really understand what we needed to do and to be partner with us to help us on that journey. So, your co-director, Robin, led that, and he, the 3 phases of the program in terms of, we talk about this minimum viable product, was created, I guess, a blueprint that wasn't just thrown over the fence. It was developed with us and with us in mind. The other really important thing was because we had a very, very small team, and we're including business analyst and project manager, which typically you would want to have on the client side of the fence. Because we had to move so quickly, AFDigital brought all of those resources to the table very, very quickly, and that was critical in terms of getting it there. And then we've literally just gone on the journey since.
Yeah. It's amazing what you and the team have accomplished, and for a very short time, like you said, in 6 to 8 weeks, you're already selling. How was that journey like, and can you share some of the things that you've learned?
Yeah, so look, it was probably like like sometimes being like a knife's edge. When you've worked for lots of organizations and business as usual, and you spend a lot of time thinking about things, sometimes things are harder, easier because you've got the people and the thinking. So we had to spend a lot of time on Miro boards looking at, okay, what's future state want to be and what do we want to achieve now? So it was probably like jumping on a giant slippery slope and at a waterwork park and literally just going for a ride, in terms of, and in some ways sort of, I guess, a bit out of control. But we knew exactly what we needed to achieve as a minimum viable products, and not everything. We used an agile methodology, so we knew where we wanted to get as major milestones. But I think it was actually working together, and what I found was really, and we know all this. But it really just reinforces it, particularly in a startup with critical times. And I think the other really important thing to say is that if you had bucket loads of money, as some startups do, then you don't have to worry about sales per se. But what was really important is we also needed to demonstrate sales and revenue and things like that. Not that we could use it because we couldn't recognize the revenue yet, but to show those sales to investors to come, because this is a brand new product, in terms of, and a brand new category. We don't have a situation where homes typically go and buy an AED. So this is building a new category as well as a new product. So we needed to do a lot of things there to prove that. But I think what's probably the single most important thing we learn or just reinforce is communication, and that and really an understanding that things will fail, things will drop. Nothing major will fail because you set the parameters of what you need to achieve as a minimum viable product, and work to that. So what I found was, and I'm sure your team would attest to the fact that I've been a hard taskmaster, and I've come to
I love
more than
working
one
with
stand
you.
up, and I've said, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing here? This is stuff that we should be able to do this with our eyes shut. We've done it before, but that's the problem with a startup environment, is that things aren't always the same. So, well, as much as we've tried to take things out of the box, which, going back to that Salesforce area, most of the world's leading organizations, or a big chunk of them, use Salesforce. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing we're doing that hasn't been done before, but
Exactly.
we do things slightly differently. So when you add a subscription product to a product, most subscription products want to bill you from the beginning, and then it's just ongoing. We need to pause it because we've then got a delay of 3-4 months till we're going to deliver. So those little bits and pieces that require testing and checking.
Yeah.
So it was also important. So from communication, so what I found was, I said, here's what we need to achieve. Nothing else is important. All the things that we know that anything we delay now will come up and bite us at some stage because it'll go from critical to urgent. But let's really understand what we have to deliver now, or in that next sprint or in that particular deadline. Focus on that and make sure, and so that the whole team's aligned. And really, if there's a barrier or a blocker there, let's find out a way of doing it. I always, I suppose, knew what I wanted as a bit of a wish list, but I was always very open to the fact that, there's different ways to skin a cat, and let's if I have to rethink this or redo that or change something, bearing in mind we were creating, products and bundles and things like that,
Yeah.
that we can do that. So the team really stepped up. I think it was a really open and honest team. We have great
Yes.
reviews where everybody has an input in terms of what we could do better. No one takes things personally. I hope they don't. They don't seem to. And
They love working with you, Mark. They do.
yeah. And
But
we
that's
pushed
important,
hard.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's really like that daily grind and accountability and having that open communication and the collaborative approach. And you've got this mindset that we could fail, but that's not the reason for us not to progress. And that's really amazing that you have that mindset. So talk about the results. Like what just like blows my mind is the fact
Yeah.
that KPI is beyond just sales, right? It's like saving lives. But so far, have you gotten any like clear metrics in terms of what's been achieved?
Yeah, look, it's really, really early stages, and it's a very, very long journey. So, we see the opportunity for Australia, being tens of millions of units, and yet one in every house, one in every car, one every, which is one in every golf bag, it is a massive, massive
Yes.
opportunity, and once upon a time, somebody probably would have laughed at us if you talked about having, more than one phone. I certainly know we had the, once upon a time, if people go back in the the old vaults, they talk about the world having a capacity for 8 computers. Now we have multiple of them on each desk. So it is not beyond the realms of possibility that this device has tens of millions of them in Australia alone, let alone globally. So in terms of scale, so that's a big, long journey. It's some of the initial successes are really just about capability, so it's we need to scale this and scale quickly, but we need to, and it's not just delivering the product. The early stages of taking an order, taking someone's money, setting up the web, that is pretty straightforward. And look, we could have used some really, really easy, cheap technology to do what we've probably done till now, but to really set it up for scalability and automation, so that we, when somebody does this, they get that email, they do this, they get that email or that alert, and that scales up to being, a text message and things like that, and an alert to customer service. So we've built that capability in, but also it's not just selling a product. As soon as we've got products that we've sold, we've got to deliver that. And as soon as we've got product that we're going to deliver, there will be products, well, in terms of the expiry, we'll need to get them back. But, warranty, damage, usage, there's a whole lot of things. And being a medical device, there's also huge amounts of compliance, so that we need post-market surveillance. So there is all that. It's also about being efficient in our marketing. So, rather, we've had the media help us a lot in terms of the PR. But in order to keep the price of the product down, we don't want to spend a huge amount of money advertising this product. So we really do want to reward and recognise our existing customers for being advocates, well, one, to stay and be with us on that journey, but also tell others and do that far more cost effectively than if we had to just go out and advertise and find new customers. So
I
in
can
terms
speak
of some of the specifics, so
Go ahead.
as a number, because everyone likes to hear a particular number that's come out. So the market in Australia for defibrillators, and is probably about 20,000 a year, right? And that's grown rapidly in recent years as we've got them into supermarkets or whatever. We don't have exact figures on that. It's not something that's reported quite as accurately as we'd like to see. Well, we've achieved in terms of pre-orders now nearly around 5,000 since December. So in terms of a market share, in terms of, that's and that's before we bring on our partners and distributors as we scale up. So I think that's an impressive number. We'd love it to be more than that. We could handle more than that, but it's we also then need to manufacture. So we have a pipeline at the moment in terms of we're manufacturing. That basically means if somebody ordered a product now, they're not going to get the product till December, and probably next month it's going to be January. So it's it is a sign of the times. It is also that the raw ingredients into these products are rare as well. So we're competing with the electric vehicles, the mobile phones, the computers for those things, and componentry. And that's going to make them, the FDA just declared that they were sort of on the, an endangered list, that type of stuff. So, we may see some legislation there that says, okay, well, there. But from a priority point of view, I think it's going to be a long time before someone can just walk into a shop and walk out and pick the product up. So, I think, my advice to people, is get your order in and be in a position to save a life, or to, we hope you don't have to, but so
It's a good
so
Christmas
so the
season.
sales are in, so the sales are encouraging, and they'll continue, and we then need to scale that into other countries, into other languages. So for me, it's an exciting time. I mean, I've worked in lots of different industries, and being able to have the opportunity to have a clean piece of paper, bring that together, and work with an organization, led by Donovan with, a real vision, and that vision is not about just making a profit. It's actually about really achieving, our mission. So, and that is to reduce the impact of sudden cardiac arrest out there in the thing. So I've worked for a lot of organizations where we workshop and we try to find, why are we in business, and you retrofit that. But I think it's really exciting and great to be working in an organization that has that at its core.
Yes, honestly, as human beings, we all share the desire to achieve our highest calling and to be able to know that we are contributing to make this world a better place. And you're doing that every day. And I feel so privileged that we get to be part of fulfilling that mission for you, Mark. So thank you so much for your trust and your continued partnership. Thank you for your time today. I hope that through this live stream, we're able to convince a lot more people to not think twice anymore. Like, this is just something that they should have in their handbags, in their homes. So, we can remove that risk of that death in sudden cardiac arrest. Thank you for your time,
And I
Mark.
think I think probably just in closing, I mean, it's probably one of those things that most people haven't thought about, so they probably haven't necessarily thought, will I, won't I type stuff. Yep. Medical professionals or people, who are there. But I think for most of the population, it's been a situation where, they will know somebody who's died of sudden cardiac arrest, but it was like, and sometimes it's mixed up with heart attack and things like that, but they've died. But the other things that will come out of this, particularly the data that's really important, is we are hoping, so, when the device gets used, it will send that information about the heart rhythm and the shocks and the information to the cloud, so that the cardiologist can use that. And hopefully, because it's going to be on the human much quicker, we will get a lot more information. So I think this is a space to watch, that while we're currently in the business of producing a device and getting out there to reduce the incidence of sudden cardiac arrest, I think 5, 10, 15 years down the track, who knows what we'll be doing, what other information, but to actually really understand what's causing this, because at the moment it seems very indiscriminate. But I think, we will find a lot more information where people
Right.
will be able to, but, who knows, we might be able to even predict it, and there could be some signs beforehand that give a person an alert. In which case, if you could get a defibrillator on somebody, within, seconds, or minute, that there's, 90% chance of survival then. So it's a really interesting road.
Yes, thank you so much to the entire team of Rapid Response Revival for spending that 5 years and bringing this amazing product to life that could literally save so many. Thank you so much again, Mark, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, Pauline. Great to talk to you again.